June 1995. 5 teenage cheerleaders walked off a high school stage after their end-of-year performance and were never seen again. Their disappearance shattered a small Nevada town, sparked statewide searches, and left 5 families clinging to fading hope. For a decade, the desert kept its secrets. Until 2005, when 2 hikers crossed a shifting dune, and the wind revealed something so chilling, so devastating, that investigators still call it one of the darkest discoveries in Nevada history. The Ridgewater 5 had finally been found. But the truth buried beneath the sand? That part still remains in the shadows. Before we begin, I want to thank everyone supporting this channel. If you love deep-dive true crime stories, real-life mysteries, and emotional cases like this one, please like this video, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Now, let's return to the summer of 1995. The night 5 bright, talented cheerleaders stepped out of a school auditorium and unknowingly walked into the pages of a nightmare. In 1995, Ridgewater, Nevada was the definition of a small American town. Population: barely 4,000. 1 main street, 1 movie theater, 1 grocery store, and 1 high school that acted as the beating heart of the entire community. Ridgewater High wasn't known for its academics or sports, but its cheer squad? That was the pride of the town. Parents raised their kids in Ridgewater because it felt safe. Doors were left unlocked. Neighbors talked over white fences. Kids biked home after dark. Nothing truly bad had ever happened there. That would change forever on June 3, 1995. The Ridgewater High Cheer Squad had 5 core members that year, all talented, driven, and inseparable. People didn't talk about them as individuals. They talked about them as a group. They were known as the Ridgewater 5. Sierra Malone, 17. A natural leader. Captain of the squad. Dreamed of attending UCLA. Her laugh carried across rooms, and she was known for sticking up for younger students. Kara Whitfield, 16. The quiet one. Brilliant at choreography. She journaled constantly, pages and pages of personal letters, drawings, and dreams. Elena Cruz, 18. Outgoing, confident, and fiercely protective of her friends. She planned to study nursing and help her parents run their restaurant. Rachel Donner, 17. The comedian of the group. Always cracking jokes, always trying to make someone smile. She was planning a comedy audition in Los Angeles after graduation. Tessa Morgan, 16. The youngest. Soft-spoken, gentle, and incredibly talented at gymnastics. Her family described her as the sunshine of their home. Together, they were magnetic. Whenever they performed, the community filled the gymnasium. They had a way of making Ridgewater feel bigger than it was. The end-of-season talent show was the biggest event of the school year. Parents, teachers, grandparents, everyone showed up. The Ridgewater 5 were the final act. As the lights dimmed, the crowd fell silent. Then the music kicked in, and the girls executed one of their most flawless routines ever. Parents in the audience still recall that night vividly. The cheers, the applause, the flashing camcorder lights. It was supposed to be a celebration, a memory they'd look back on for years. At 9:20 p.m., the girls bowed, hugged, and waved to the crowd. It was the last time anyone saw them alive. Multiple students said the girls left through the side door, a dimly lit exit used mostly by staff. It opened into a narrow alleyway behind the auditorium. There were no security cameras, no floodlights, just gravel, dumpsters, and a long stretch of shadow leading behind the school. The girls were still wearing their cheer jackets, still laughing, still full of adrenaline from their performance. One student, a freshman, said he saw them walking in a tight group, joking around. Another claimed he heard Sierra say, "Let's go grab snacks before we go home." They were heading toward the parking lot. But their car, a shared tan 1991 Honda Accord, was still there the next morning. Keys inside. Doors locked. No signs of struggle. It was as if they walked into the darkness and simply dissolved. By 11 p.m., parents began calling one another. By 1 a.m., they called police. By sunrise, Ridgewater High was buzzing with worry, panic, and disbelief. The girls weren't rebellious. They didn't run away. They had no reason to disappear. Every parent repeated the same words to detectives. She would have called. Hundreds of volunteers combed the desert, forming human chains that stretched for miles. Police dogs covered both paved and dirt roads. Helicopters flew grid patterns across the open landscape. But the desert was vast, an endless sea of sand, shrubs, and heat. No tracks. No clothing. No footprints. It was as if the earth had swallowed them. The sheriff at the time, Walter Briggs, said later, "It didn't feel like a runaway case. It felt like a disappearance with planning behind it." But planning by who? Ridgewater didn't have criminals. It barely had traffic. Detectives interviewed everyone. Students, teachers, janitors, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, neighbors, delivery drivers, stage crew, coaches, local truckers, and still nothing. No evidence of a break-in. No suspicious vehicles. No known threats. No kidnappings in the area. The last sign of the Ridgewater Five was that moment in the alley behind the auditorium. A black hole of time the entire case revolved around. As months passed with no leads, panic became paranoia. Parents stopped letting their kids walk alone. People bought locks for the first time. Rumors spread everywhere. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a traveling worker. Maybe someone waited for them. Maybe it was someone they knew. The absence of answers tore the community apart. Some families blamed the school for lax security. Some blamed the sheriff. Some blamed outsiders. By 1997, the case was already turning cold. 1998, a rumor claimed the girls were seen outside Reno. False. 1999, a letter arrived claiming they'd been trafficked. A hoax. 2000, a psychic claimed to know the location. Incorrect. 2001, a possible witness emerged, but turned out to be lying for attention. 2002, the FBI briefly reviewed the case, but found no solid leads. By 2005, the Ridgewater Five had become an urban legend whispered in the halls of the high school. 5 lockers remained untouched. Their cheer uniforms hung like ghosts. Their families aged with grief. Most believed the girls would never be found, until fate intervened. On April 17, 2005, a married couple from Oregon, Daniel and Marissa Tate, were hiking near Red Dune Canyon, a remote area known for its shifting desert landscape. Winds had been unusually strong that week. Entire sandbanks moved, revealing rock formations unseen for decades. The couple followed an unmarked path, something the Park Service always warned against. Around 2:40 p.m., Daniel noticed something sticking out of a dune. A pale, round shape. At first he thought it was a buried plastic ball. But as he brushed the sand away, he froze. It was a skull. Human. Weathered. sun-bleached. He called out to his wife, who immediately dialed 911. Within minutes, deputies were on their way. Within hours, the most chilling discovery in Nevada's history began to unfold. As authorities scraped away layers of sand, they found another skull. Then another. And another. 5 in total. All arranged in a rough semicircle, as if placed deliberately. The bodies had not been buried deep, less than a foot. Just enough to hide them. Not enough to protect them from wind, animals, or erosion. Scattered across the site were fragments. Bone pieces. Jaw remnants. Rib fragments. Vertebrae. Scrap fabric. Small personal objects. The desert had preserved them, but time had rearranged them. One forensic expert said, "It was clear they were together in death as they were in life." The remains told a horrific story. A binding marks on wrists and ankles. Bone grooves suggested rope or wire restraints. 2 skulls had blunt force fractures, likely struck with a hard object. Clothing remnants matched cheer uniforms. A torn navy blue polyester fragment. A zipper consistent with Ridgewater High jackets. Personal items confirmed identity. Sierra's bracelet. Elena's necklace chain. A hair tie consistent with Kara's style. A ring Rachel always wore. A shoelace from Tessa's cheer shoes. Cause of death. Impossible to determine definitively. But evidence suggested. Restraint. Blunt force trauma. Possible dehydration or abandonment in desert. The burial site was only 14 miles from Ridgewater. All those years, the girls had been right there. Close enough that search teams likely passed them without realizing it. Close enough that families unknowingly drove past. The desert didn't hide them out of malice. It hid them because no one imagined looking so close. Sheriff Linda Graves, who took over the case in the 2000s, said, "That was the hardest part for the families. They were never far away. We just never knew where to dig." Investigators pieced together the most probable scenario. The girls left through the dark alley at the wrong moment. Someone waited there. Someone who knew the door had no cameras. Someone who knew the route the girls always took. Someone confident enough to grab 5 victims at once. The theory goes, they were forced at gunpoint or knife point. Loaded into a vehicle. Disposed of quickly in the desert while still alive or shortly after. The shallow burial suggested haste, fear of being seen, or multiple perpetrators. Over time, 3 major theories emerged. A janitor who worked part-time near the auditorium later abandoned the job and left Nevada shortly after the girls vanished. He was questioned in 2006. No solid evidence linked him, but locals remained suspicious. During the 1990s, a construction project off Highway 41 brought dozens of transient workers into the area. One worker was later arrested for unrelated crimes in Arizona involving kidnapping. Again, nothing tied him directly to the Ridgewater 5. Some investigators argue the logistics are too complicated for one person. 5 teens. All physically fit. All alert. All capable of fighting back. The shallow grave also suggests multiple hands. But no group was ever identified. When the remains were identified, Ridgewater went silent. Shops closed. Classes were cancelled. Flags lowered. 5 hearses drove down Main Street for the joint memorial service. 5 caskets. 5 cheer bows placed at the front of the church. Parents clung to each other, barely able to stand. Sierra's mother whispered, "I always knew she was near. I just didn't know where. Even now, the investigation remains open. No one has ever been arrested. No weapon found. No DNA identified. No confession given. The desert gave back the girls, but not the truth. Every June 3rd, the town holds a candlelight vigil outside the auditorium. People place flowers near the alley where the girls were last seen. 5 candles. 5 names. 5 futures taken.